Now, good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to talk about this topic, talent to strength. This is about your Strengths Finder results. How's the audio? Is it all right?
Fine.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, so we're going to talk about your Strengths Finder results. And honestly, this is my view. I think this is a fun course. I've been in training and development for over 25 years. This topic is something that I think everybody can take something valuable with them. And so it's fun. It's a look at ourselves. It's really important. I think it says a lot about HPH that this is one of the first things they want to do with you. This is a very important part of their culture. And seeing people beyond just, what they look like, actually seeing people for who they are and what makes them tick and what makes them effective. So that's what this course is about. It's a look inward, but in doing so, you're also going to get to know other people around you better too. So I'll start with some slides, and just the way this works is if you need anything, just like raise your hand. I have this philosophy, healthy people ask for what they need. So like if you need me to slow down and if you need me to explain something, because I do, jump around, there's a lot of content I want to get in there, but it's more about what you get than what I want to do. So anytime you want to say something that overturns anything I want to say, I say it this way, I shouldn't, but as a consultant, I say my BS gun is fully loaded. I've got no shortage of ammo. I got plenty to talk about. My superpower is I can fill up any amount of time with words. So if you need something, just slow me down or whatever, and we're good. And we're going to try to get a break or two in here. We're going to do some exercises. I'm going to ask you to fill out some worksheets, which, by the way, you should have some materials. I believe you have a folder that was prepared, crafted, or maybe it's a set of. Okay, good. Yeah, got it there. You got the papers. Okay. So you're welcome to look through those to your heart's content. If you want to go at my pace when you look through those, that might work better. But I'm all for people meeting their own needs, like I said. So I have some slides to go through, and yeah, before I do that, I just got one more little detail I need to do. Yeah. All right. So, right. I would love for people to be ready to share. That this makes it more engaging, more interesting, because you might, but you're probably not going to see me again, but you're working with each other. You're going to see each other. So yeah, be ready to share. Let's get to know each other. Your course materials, I shouldn't say folder because that implies there would be a folder. And it's just really the worksheets is the most important stuff. There's handouts, there's informational handouts for you in there that describe some of the content. And then there will be some materials for like exercises or some activities, maybe not activities, more like application, applying the concepts. I'm going to share something called POM. This is a big part of the culture at HPH2 among managers and especially the senior team. I'll just tell you, you might not remember, but I'll cover it again. Purpose, outcome, method. It should just be POM. Purpose, outcome, method. Do this. And basically, it's stating that everything people can do as a team or as individuals, it has a purpose. There's a reason why you're doing something. It has outcomes. That purpose means that there's outcomes you want, results. The reasons why you're doing it. Why do you work? Why do you, do the activities in your life? And then the methods, which is the how. How are you going to get those outcomes? How will you get the outcomes? So we'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to do some introductions. So we'll talk about your top 5 themes. And then I'd like to know what department you're in, what's your job or role, and what's your manager's name. just to kind of give me a reference point. And then if you have a favorite movie, I always find that interesting, and I'm always looking for good recommendations. So a movie, I know you might, even if you have like 10 favorite movies, just, one would do. All right. Then we're going to get into, more about themes and domains. This will be most of the course. We'll be talking about your themes of talent and how that relates to your strengths. And we're going to talk about raw versus mature. And we're going to talk about this method called COIN. It's an approach to what do you do with this information? What do you do with all of this? Well, the COIN, it stands for connect. I mean, you don't need to remember, but I just don't want to leave you hanging. We'll come back to this. It stands for connecting with your themes. What are your top 5, and do you connect with them? And we're going to spend a lot of time doing that. And then observing your themes. Can you see, maybe even after having read the descriptions, can you see those themes showing up in your life going, yep, that's me, I stands for interrupt. There are times where these qualities, what we're calling your themes or talents or themes of talent, that's all meaning the same thing, your top 5, that there are times you want to interrupt them, that they may not be your ally, they may not work to your advantage. The N stands for nuance. So we want to first, it's a process. We want to connect with your themes so you can observe them. So when you need to, you can learn to interrupt them, so that ultimately you want to get to where you have the ability to dial in the appropriate amount of that theme or quality in your day-to-day. And then we'll just share some resources for you going forward. So that's kind of the agenda, the overview, the game plan. Any thoughts or questions at this point? Good. All right. Question, did you guys read your results? Did you kind of read through your reports yet of what your top 5 were? Just show of hands, just so I could see. Did you read like, oh, this was my number 1 and this is what it means? So yeah, let me see your hand if you did do that yet. All right. So good. All right. Some of you did. Those of you that did you find that it was accurate? Were you like, yeah, I see that all the time. I see people will say, yeah, I'm surprised at how accurate it is. Yeah. I'm going to try to pull up something real quick so I could show you some reports, where you could, I'm going to show you like which reports to read for different things. So give me just a moment. All right. So we're gonna pick on Jacqueline Burns. Jacqueline, are you there? Just raise your hand if you're there, or is that the person who's not there? Jacqueline. Oh, okay, cool. All right, good, perfect. And did I say it right, or is there a preferred pronunciation? Jacqueline? Great. Okay. The audio may not be so great, so please forgive me. Okay. All right. Thank you. So,
just, by the way, it kind of there's times where it's static, so it's not a lot. It's like every 5 minutes. Just
okay.
It's like brief. So we might ask you again to repeat it.
Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. Awesome. Great communication. All right. So what I want to show you are just some of the reports. So first of all, you would have gotten an email probably to the Gallup website to look at those reports there. What I'm going to show you are just some reports that you'll have, I think you have in front of you. The first one will look like this. It'll have your name at the top, and it'll have sort of like these characters. And this is your number 1. See, it goes 1 is in the center. So your number 1 theme would be relator. What does that mean? Well, these bullet points here are a very brief description for people with the relator theme. And since it's your number one theme, that would make it your most dominant of all the themes. And by the way, there are 34 of them. It only gives you the results of your top 5 for now. But of all 34, for in this case, Jacqueline, the number 1 is relator. And what does that mean? It means she invests in close relationships that are genuine. You might think this person gets along with everybody, but that's not really true. This person wants to develop intimacy and deep relationships and doesn't want superficial or fake relationships. So they're comfortable with intimacy and they're compelled to deepen relationships. That means they prioritize character over, things like a person's status or their title. That's not the most important thing. It's who the person is. And they derive great pleasure and strength from being around those people. And they place high value on trust and loyalty. So if you break trust or loyalty with somebody high in this theme, you might permanently end the relationship, or the phrase "you're dead to me" might be uttered. Okay. Yeah. So, but everybody has a number one theme, and we should pay attention to that. Do you guys feel that from reading your report that your number one theme describes you pretty well? Yeah, cool. What's your name, by the way? Miriam. Okay, cool. So your number one theme is responsibility, right? The reason I know that is I'll show you this. This is another thing you have. It has everybody in the room's top 5 with them. It looks a little different. I just snipped this for the slide here. But do you guys have this page?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So Miriam, your number one is responsibility. So I look at your top 5 and I know all of these very well. I don't expect you to even know, I remember when I first started looking at these, it was a little blurry, but I know these like it's a language. So when I look at Miriam's, I see responsibility number 1. And some of you also have it. Dolores has it. Dolores is also, that's the only one I see. All right, responsibility though means, I feel a sense of obligation to make things happen. If I give my word, I got to get it done. Even if I don't give my word, if I just think the other person thinks I gave my word, then I feel like it's on my shoulders. And if I have the responsibility theme, which I do not, but one day I imagined what it would be like to have it. I was brushing my teeth and I was like, if I had responsibility theme very high, what would I be doing right now? And I would be going through all my list of obligations. Who did I promise I was going to do this for? What do I got to get done? What balls can I not drop, metaphorically? What things do I have to make sure I deliver on? And I would go through that, not just once, probably before I went to sleep, probably when I woke up, you know what I mean? And so, Miriam, is that true?
And one thing that really bugs me is when people say that they're going to do something and they don't do it. That's and it's a big thing about me. Because I remember when me and my husband first started dating, he said he forgets a lot. So he would say he would do something and then he would forget and wouldn't do it. And it was like a big thing, for me it was, at least, because I'm like, you should be honest and not, keep your word.
Keep your word. Like with the relator theme, when we were talking about Jacqueline, and if you break trust, if you violate our bond, you're dead to me. Well, with the relator, it's like, if you don't meet your responsibilities, I'm going to be really stressed out. Right? It might come across as like I'm angry, or it depends on the person. But what it really comes down to is I feel let down. And that stresses me out. And I did this to one of my teammates yesterday. I run a youth program, a youth leadership program, and my teammate, she has responsibility very high. And I was supposed to bring the cookies, and I didn't bring the cookies. Oh, now I don't have responsibility very high, so I didn't feel that bad, but, but really what I want to say about this is, as we talk about these themes, they're alive, they're real, they're playing out in your day-to-day experiences. And that's why this content is so rich, because there's 34 themes, right? And we already see 2 of them when we looked at relator and we look at responsibility, and see that they have very powerful drives that go with them. And where you have your number one is, you have high expectations of others. So if you have responsibility number one, you expect other people to be responsible. But remember, there's 34 other themes, right? Now, sometimes, like, oh, is Dolores in the room? Dolores? Right. So Dolores, if you handed off something to Dolores, you should expect pretty reasonably that she's going to deliver, right? And if somebody with responsibility doesn't deliver, what do? You two, Dolores or Miriam, how do you feel if you ever drop the ball? What's it like inside?
If we drop the ball, like we don't do
Yeah,
that,
if you yourself was the one who dropped the ball.
guilt. I was gonna say guilt. I don't know. I just feel. I mean, I would have to get it done. Like, yes, one way or another, it's gonna get done.
Yeah, you would want to make good on it. You'd want to make up for it. It'd become an immediate emergency. And so that's why whenever someone with responsibility drops the ball, I don't beat up on them. Why? They're already doing it to themselves way more. Yeah.
Repeat that again if you don't mind. They're ecstatic.
Good, thank you. Yeah, perfect. I would not criticize, like if my teammate, her name's April, if she dropped the ball, I wouldn't have been like, ha ha, in your or anything. I would because that would be cruel, because I would know what she's going through internally, the guilt and the stress. I'd be like, it's all right. You know what I mean? I'd be trying to like soothe her, you know? So knowing another person's themes is really key to like unlocking them. Is Christina there?
I think she's the one who didn't come.
Okay. Forum, is that a forum? Am I, how do you say it?
Forum. You got
Forum?
it right.
Okay. And Kimberly, you both have learner as your number one theme. What's it like inside the mind of a learner? Well, I don't have learner very high either, but what I understand is learners, if it's new and somewhat interesting, they want to absorb it. They want to gather it. All of us can learn, right? But the learner theme, what Gallup, the company that does this, what they call the learner theme, they're talking about someone who, above everything else, wants that new information. They love that feeling of newness and absorbing it. I don't enjoy that feeling. It feels like work to me, you know? I'll do it. I can learn, right? Same with relator. I can relate. I can build intimacy. I actually have relator pretty high, so I do, you know, understand one. And I can be responsible, even though responsibility is around number 16 or 17. It's like halfway down the list for me. I can do those things, but you know, what Gallup means is very specific. So the learner, they can absorb, they have mental endurance. That's another thing about the learners. They have other people are getting tired out, but the learner's like, oh no, I can keep going. Have you ever seen The Matrix? They're like Neo when he's, I know Kung Fu, when they like load him up with all that stuff. The learners like that to me. They just absorb stuff. And something else about the learner is they never think they know enough, right? Forum's nodding. Yeah, like I always, you know, I should read another book, or there's more knowledge out there. But the truth is, when you feel that way, you two, you probably know more than most of the other people around you. Do you understand? Does that make sense? You probably experienced that or seen that, right? Yeah, go ahead.
I just received my certification in hand therapy, and I still feel like I'm just beginning part of it. Even though I took this test, I studied everything, and I still want to feel like, no, I have a lot more to. It's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. I love it. I love it. And what you're helping us to see is that our number one themes, they could get, or any of our themes can get exaggerated. You know what I mean? Like they run the show. Yeah. And so that's what I mean by interrupt. When I talked about the coin model, connect, observe, interrupt. I haven't shown it to you yet. I'm kind of like spilling all the beans right away. But when we learning to interrupt, like, okay, I shouldn't expect to know everything right now. I do know enough. I could dial down my learner or my relator theme, the intimacy. All right, this person, I've taken them as far as they could go. All right, we'll pause for a little bit there, you know, right? Like the responsibility theme. Here's a great one for this, okay? Listen. Learn to distinguish between earned guilt and unearned guilt. You're going to feel both and you're going to treat them the same. It's just going to be like, I'm guilty for everything. But learn in your mind to put a little practice step in there to go, all right, I feel guilty, but did I earn this guilt? Like, am I supposed to feel guilty for this person's, you know, lack of planning that's now an emergency on my part? Am I supposed to feel guilty because that person got mad at something that, you know what, they shouldn't have gotten mad about, especially for you, Miriam, because your number 2 is empathy. So you pick up on other people's emotions as if they were your own. And Daniel, you have this one too, as your number 2. And you have adaptability number 1. We should talk about that one. Your number 1. That's my number 6. And so I had a hard time connecting to my adaptability. So have you connected with it yet, or have you read through it yet, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty spot on. I thought more empathy was number 1 because I literally can walk in a room and feel everybody. I've always been like that. But adaptability, in my opinion, it goes hand in hand with empathy just by reading it, because you can walk in a room and you're kind of like adapt, right? You adapt to, because you know everybody's feeling a certain way. But yeah.
Oh, that's great. You combined your adaptability with your empathy. And I think that's wonderful. Yeah. So here's Daniel's top 5 images. I mean, here's the whole thing, but just his number 1 is adaptability. His number 2 is empathy. And so he adapts to other people's emotions. You should find Daniel to be a really like safe harbor to be around. I mean, also he's got positivity, number 5. So, but he's also got futuristic strategic, which means his brain is always cooking up. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Daniel, does that ring true?
Extremely strategic. Yes. I built businesses, so that was kind of like my thing. So I always like, yeah, being very, yes, it's very much me. And,
excellent. And strategic is my number 1. So you and I might connect that way, because strategic is a way of thinking. It's not something I could explain. It's just a process I go through to say, if this, then that, and if that, then that, and if that, then that, and if that, then that, then boom, that's where we're at. Do I want to go there? No, let's back it up. Let's do another variable and play that one out. And it happens like super fast, and I don't know that I do it. So all these years, I'm 50, I'll be 53 next month. All these years kind of growing up, I didn't know that. I just thought other people thought that way too. But I was speaking a different language. I was in the future. I was like, I was not as far in the future as maybe Daniel is, because he has futuristic and strategic. Futuristic, everything for someone with futuristic is, all right, what does this look like down the road? He probably imagined what this course would be like, like what the classroom would be like. Any of that true?
Oh yeah, I'm a big dreamer, so I'm always thinking, yeah.
Yeah. But and so that's your internal experience. All of these are describing your inner experiences, but each one of you have different inner experiences. Do you see? And that's what I love about this tool. I've totally blown the agenda. Like I'm way out of the agenda, but it's all right. It's all right. I mean, this content, there's no one way to do it. I have adaptability number 6, right? All right. Yeah, Miriam, please.
You had said, you were telling me and, excuse me, I forgot your name.
Dolores.
To learn to feel, and I didn't finish writing the sentence.
Earned guilt and unearned guilt. Earned guilt and unearned guilt. So this.
Yes.
I wrote it down too. Yes, there it is. No, actually, I'm not. She said I was communicator first, and it's not. I'm a ranger.
But it's on there though, isn't it?
It's on my 4th one. Yeah, but I was like, wow, she said it was first, but it's actually, and a ranger, no, actually suits me 100%. Before that communication one. But nonetheless, I wrote it too. That was the point of that.
Should we talk about a ranger?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I covered everybody else's. I'm trying to pull your report up. Let's see. All right. So, Dolores, the reason you remembered earned guilt versus unearned guilt is probably because you have the input theme. And the input theme, that's this one, you're number 3. It loves to collect and store useful information. So when you heard earned guilt versus unearned guilt, you probably thought, wow, that's useful. And that's why you collected it. Does that make sense? Now, half the time someone has input, they also have learner. And half the time someone has learner, they also have input. They show up a lot together. But I have input it's my number 5, but I don't have learner until down the list midway. So some people will just have learner very high and not input. And some people have input, but a lot of times people have both. Let's see, does anybody here have both? Yeah, Forum has input and learner. So they kind of double down with each other. Yeah. They reinforce each other. They're when you learn the themes, you learn how they complement each other. All your themes will complement each other. Your job is to figure out the combinations. Now, Dolores has the arranger theme. So what does that mean? By the way, these images are meant to visually capture the essence of the theme. So here you see responsibility with the weight of the world, not necessarily on her shoulders, but in her arms. It's the Atlas motif. The arranger theme, what's going on here? Walking a tightrope, having all these different things in the air. Well, what's going on? Arrangers can juggle multiple demands at once. They create order out of complexity and chaos. They fit pieces together for the best configuration. And that to me is the phrase. Optimal configuration is how I think of arranger. I want not too much, not too little, not too soon, not too late. And it's this perfect combination in their head that nobody else knows about. So it's very easy to frustrate an arranger. Am I right? It took a plot twist at the end, did it not? The arranger has something very much in common with futuristic, Daniel, and with strategic. And that is, in their minds, they have this way of how things should look, and other people don't know it, so it could create miscommunication. So for those themes in particular, but for all themes, I think this idea, I call it leaving a trail of mental breadcrumbs. Explain your thought process. Explain your arrangement to people when you can. To you, it's second nature and it's obvious. But to other people, they don't think the way you do. What is the perfect proportions? They haven't been practicing it all their lives. Think about this for your number 1 themes for each of you, or for your top themes. You have been practicing these your whole life. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? You've been trying to figure out the world, the demands of the world, whether it's relationship demands or, task, getting things done demands, or knowledge, information, decision-making demands. All of these are demands that life places on all of us, right? It's just, you get a job, you got to do these things. You got bills to pay, you got people in your life, demands, and I'm like putting it on my shoulder. Like, I guess that's what this gesture is like, these are things on your shoulders. These are the demands life places on you. So how do you meet the demands or the weight on you is through strength. Do you see? And you've developed these without really knowing you developed these. These what? These qualities, these themes of talent. They are not your strengths, by the way. I want to be clear. It gets confusing for a lot of people because it's called Strengths Finder. So these are my results, so they must be my strengths. Not yet. They're like a key ingredient for a strength. These talents that you have, your top 5, they're like, strength is the cake. And these talents, these top 5, they are like the eggs or the flour or the milk or whatever you need. I don't know how to bake, but they're like a key, whatever one of the most important ingredients for your cake is, but they're not the cake. Does that make sense? I'm going to describe to you what a strength is. A strength is something you do so well and all the time. You do it great. It's not difficult for you. These will be tasks. These will be activities you do. And some of them will have a name, like you're a great swimmer. You know, you have strength at swimming. Yes.
Hey, I'm a swimmer.
Oh, you are a swimmer. Okay, perfect. So, and are you Tanya? Tanya, oh, great. So Tanya, you use your top 5 themes to help you be a better swimmer. But you also do other things beyond these top 5. So like, let's look at Tanya's top 5. She has, my favorite theme is her number 1 theme. I know I shouldn't, but I love the connectedness theme. It's a beautiful theme. It's just one of my, it's just, I love it. And I usually get along really well with people that have it. And I do not. It's not one of my top 5, or it's not even in my top 10, but this theme is about realizing, it's just an intuitive sense that everything is one. Everything is interconnected. If you do something over here, it's going to have a ripple effect over here. So you don't want to be a jerk, you know, and you understand where people are coming from. You may not agree, you may not condone, but you're like, yeah, I see the bigger web. I can see how you got there. And so, Tanya, does that describe connectedness?
Very much so.
Anything you want to add to it?
I was also reading the harmony, and I think so that really holds true for me too. I don't like chaos. I've experienced something pretty traumatic not too long ago. So it's just really at home.
Yeah. And so someone with harmony will find it, something much more disruptive, because harmony and connectedness, you could see how they would double down. Hold on, I'm trying to share with you Tanya's top 5. See, here's the image for connectedness. By the way, me and my graphic designer, my graphic designer obviously did the artwork, but we came up with the images for each one of these. So this is unique. Only me and my team can make these reports. Gallup has approved them, by the way. So we have the only set of images, and they're meant to tell the story. Like, you see what I described about connectedness, and you can almost kind of see the image of that, right? You see achiever, Tanya's number 2, and it's about wanting to get goals met, get accomplishments met. You see the achiever, that's actually right here behind me too. The achiever theme is about reaching for the stars, getting the accomplishments, trying to make progress constantly. You have number 3, individuals, is that individual developer. So you want to bring the people around you along. This is the developer theme is like very unusual because it's about other people's potential. The developer wants other people to develop even more than they want to develop.
That's very true.
Right? The thing about developer, it's a challenge. See, they want to develop people. The last thing they would want to do is do anything to diminish somebody. Sometimes if not careful, the developer might actually inadvertently make someone feel criticized or incomplete when they're just trying to help them reach their potential. And so the developer's curse is that they inadvertently might hurt the people they're trying to develop. So that's why learning to manage each of our themes. All of our themes have that power and the edge. One of my mentors on StrengthsFinder, his name is Kurt Liesveld. He passed away a few years ago. And so I just wanted to honor him by saying, he's a bit of influence for a lot of people in the StrengthsFinder community. And he talked about the power and the edge of each theme. The power is like developer has this, is the one person who's bringing out the potential of others more than anybody else. And then the edge is that it could cut people. Responsibility. The power is you get things done, you deliver. The edge is you cut yourself in the process. Relator. The power is that they infuse those around them with like an ally because the relator sees those people in their circle. It's that circle of trust. Those people are extensions of the relator. Those are my other me's. But that's the power of it. The edge is that it wounds inside in ways that are hard to describe if that relationship gets severed. So the power and the edge of all of these. And so Tanya, yeah, you have connectedness. You see the web, you feel the web, harmony. You want that equilibrium and that just everyone to just get along. And even my hands, look at it, like it's like a harmony. I don't know. I used to dance like that. Anyway, when I was a kid, that's but the harmony there, the achiever is where you want to drive forward and get things done, but you have the adaptability as your number 5. And I think in times of trauma, that's something that helps you. And even your connectedness helps you see the bigger picture, even if other people don't, And so people with connectedness, they have understanding. Anyway, learning these qualities about ourselves, I'm going into all of these. It's hard to contain my excitement. But any thoughts or reactions to anything we covered so far? Yeah, please.
Adam, is there there's 35 of them, correct? Or
34.
34. Is there, I thought we were going to see a list with all of them because we have all of them, right? It's just depends on the order. Yeah.
So for many, many years, Gallup only gave the top 5. But a few years ago, for an extra fee, you can unlock the full 34. You don't have to take the assessment again. You just have to pay them like the difference between, I think it's another $30 or something. So when I teach this, I prefer to just do the top 5 because like my technique for doing this is different from other StrengthsFinder teachers. I don't want to just load you up with like, what are the themes? I want you to know what to do with them when you leave here. And that's tough. That's really tough. Most of the time, people just learn, oh, these are the cool themes about me. But it's like, what am I supposed to do with them? And I want to, so I want to make sure before we get to the end that we do that. So we don't have your full 34 right now. For many years, I just knew my top 5. And that was enough that I'm still learning about them, all the time and seeing how they show up in my day to day. All right. Can we bring it back to some introductions and then, please. Miriam.
Are some the same color for a reason? Like I have responsibility and belief, they're both purple, and then empathy, developer, and includer are blue. So is that?
Yeah. So when we get into the Strengths Finder, yeah, you'll see obviously there's the 4 different colors. And so I'll just show you here. Gallup has them clustered this way, that these 9 themes they call the relating themes. And 38% of the themes in your group are within this category. Influencing themes are the yellow one. There's only one of you that has an influencing theme. That is Dolores with the communication theme. And so Gallup calls these 8 themes the influencing themes. The thinking themes are these 8. You can see input, half of you, even though there's one missing, 50% of you would have the input theme. That's disproportionate to the general population. You should have a handout that would show the statistics. That's not it. You will have these handouts though. One is the reference card, which has the quick definitions of the themes. There's another one that will have, I think it would have the statistics of the frequency. Do you guys see that one? I'm trying to look for it on my slides, but I don't see that I have it on my slides here. Do you have one that shows like the list of themes and which one's the most common out of all 34? It should be Achiever. Oh, I'll see if I can pull it up if you guys remind me over break. I don't want to do it while we're trying to make progress here. But there and there's a handout that will show you how common the 34 themes are. All right. So coming back into the slides, where'd they go? Here. All right. So that's the 4 domains or the 4 categories. Now, and then the executing themes. I'm sorry, I didn't do that one. The executing themes are 9 of them. And you see Achiever has 5. Now, that's over 50% of you would have Achiever in this room. And Achiever happens to be the most popular of all. This one, Command, is the least common. 5% of the population across the globe would have Command, whereas 32% of the population would have Achiever in their top 5. Only 5% would have Command in their top 5. Learner's pretty common. Relator is also what Relator, Learner, Achiever are the 3 most popular common themes. Command, self-assurance, and significance are the 3 least common, and they're all in this category. Let's see. I want to why don't we take a break? Why don't we take a 5-minute break, stretch, whatever you need to do, check your devices. I know you've been really good about not doing that during this meeting. For the I mean, if you needed to, you needed to. I get it. But yeah, so I'll pause this. We'll come back 5 minutes.
I was just so excited. I had to share my top one with my husband. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me put it on. Feel free to go on break. Yeah, but real quick, I want to say for spouses, you should get them to do this. It costs $20 to do the top 5. And I think it explains so much if you read. Yeah. If you read each other's reports, if you can get your spouse to do it, great. And yeah, and maybe, I bet you HPH, if enough of you want to do one with spouses, I bet you they'd host a session. I'd be willing to, do this too. Or we got to record it. Like if they want to learn and apply the concepts, anyway, it's great for couples. They should definitely do it. All right, go take a break. We'll come back and pick it up from there. 5 minutes. Beautiful, beautiful. So back from break. Well, we're still gathering, so it's all good. But I wanted to show you this. This is a different report. Let's see, whose haven't I done yet? What's that?
I was talking to someone else.
No, I'm sorry.
Responsible. Not talking to each other.
Yeah, we were being responsible in our conversations.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. Okay, we're gonna pull up. Kimberly. Cool. All right. So what I want to show you here is what's called the signature theme report. All right. Thanks. All right. This is going to give it to me. All right. Can you see this here? So this here is just a little set of instructions that I wrote up for this document here. It's helping you see, that these are your themes of talent, and they're not a strength. Strength is a little different. Your themes of talent are naturally recurring patterns of feelings, thoughts, and behavior. That's what these are. Inside of you are patterns for how you think, feel, and behave. And whenever you experience a situation, a stimulus, something new in your environment, a new person, a new job, all right, you're dealing with your own internal complex of feelings. How do you feel about this new person, this new thing? What are your thoughts about it? And what do you want to do? How do you react to it? And I call this a TFB, a thought, feeling, behavior. It's just, they happen so fast. It's just one thing. But this is what makes up your day-to-day. I know, this is going to sound creepy. I know what you did today. I know everything you did today. I know that everything you did today fit into the category of a thought, a feeling, and a behavior. What did you do today? You thought, you felt, and you behaved. What are you going to do all day? What are you going to do the rest of your life? That's what we do. And it's weird to think about that. It's weird. I mean, it wasn't only till a couple of years ago that it just hit me that so much of my day-to-day, so much of my life are my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And they interact. If I think about something, well, do I think well of it or do I think poorly of it? And there's a lot in our day-to-day where our thoughts really determine how we feel about it. Oh, I think this is terrible. I think you said that. I think you were trying to disrespect me. Or I think this is terrible. I think this is unfair. And then how do you feel in regards to those things? I feel angry. I feel frustrated. I feel irritated. And now how are you going to behave? Well, I'm not going to play nice with you or or whatever. Or the opposite. If I think good things, then I feel good things and I behave well. And these StrengthsFinder themes describe why something hits you well or hits you poorly. Some things will either align with you. Oh, this is great. You feel great when things align with you. Something fits well. Oh, for Miriam, okay, this is great. Everybody's meeting their responsibilities and everybody feels good. And we didn't talk about her belief theme, her number 3 theme, which is going to be where this nice person suddenly might not be so nice. If we trigger a belief, this nice, responsible person will dig in. No, I'm not going to go there. I can't, And that's beautiful because now we know what beliefs, we got to find out what beliefs are core to Miriam, because those beliefs are not like made up stuff. They're actual, real, vital, tangible things that I'm going to adapt myself around. I'm going to inconvenience myself to be true to those beliefs. I'm going to tell you off. I'll be confrontive if I have to when it comes to those beliefs. Miriam, is this true? Does this resonate?
Very
Your
true.
husband must know this. We got to make sure he knows this, that when you start digging in, he's going to dull his blade against your shield. You're not budging. And he's not going to know why. Normally I can guilt you. Normally I can, but not on this. Why? Because I don't move on, and it'd be good to know. Now, so do any of your beliefs come to mind? Do any of them, like, it varies from person to person. It doesn't have to be religious or anything like that. It could be a philosophy. It could be a value. So anything come to mind as a belief?
Honestly, I mean, this is really big to me because my beliefs, my faith really drives everything I do. Everything. So like that honesty. So I feel like that it just everything kind of ties in, like honesty, loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm being dishonest, I'm also feel like that's affecting my faith, like too. You know what I'm saying? Like it goes hand in hand. Like it doesn't go right with my faith. You know what I'm saying? Being dishonest. My morals, correct. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And this is important. This is about understanding the inner experience of, in this case, of Miriam, and you wouldn't think to say all this to somebody. Oh, I feel responsible for things. Oh, I can pick up your emotions without you even knowing it. I know when you're lying. I know, you know what I mean? Like, now I don't want you on, I don't want to play survivor with you. I'd have to eliminate you, you'd be a threat. I watch a lot of Survivor lately. I'm like hooked on the show. All right. But let's keep going now. You got the developer, which is, as we've talked about with, was it let's see who else had it? Developer. Yeah, Tanya, you had developer. Right. You see the potential in others, and you might see the potential in other people's morals, and you might want to help them live up to their morals better, whereas Tanya might want to help others achieve. There's different ways it plays out. Yeah. Good.
Because morality is so important for me. So yes, so that's what I mean you're on point on everything.
Yeah, and it's this tool really and how to read it. But let's go and look at belief. I want to show you I want to show everybody else how we pictured the belief character. What do you notice?
She's anchored.
Exactly. And there's like a tornado that represents life's chaos in the background, but she's anchored. Yeah, she's not moving. Yeah, that's kind of the idea there. Yeah. Because a belief has enduring core values that serve as an internal compass. Oh, we're looking at Jacqueline's. Jacqueline, this is your number 2. Awesome. Are you recognizing this as well?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So the relator is very nice to get along with, but when these values come up, we got to be very careful. This is very important stuff for me. So has enduring core values that serve as an internal compass, is likely to be family oriented, altruistic, and or spiritual or religious, places high value on responsibility and ethics. So, if you also have the responsibility theme, is known for being stable, dependable, and trustworthy. Yeah, something about the belief theme. I trust them. They're difficult at times, but they put their principles even before their own well-being. If they're being true to this belief, this quality. And it means that they also don't take shortcuts. They're not saying, oh, it's only for you that you should be, it's my belief for me too. And it's more about for them. It's more about for them than it is for other people, I believe. But remember, whatever our top themes are, we also outwardly apply them to others. So we apply relator to others. We apply belief to others. Oh my gosh, consistency. Look at this. The referee is holding up a yellow card. We got to stop action here because something is unfair. Something is not fair, and we need to level the playing field. We need to make sure everybody is informed. Everybody has equal access to the information. Everybody has an equal chance. Jacqueline, does that sound like you?
Yes.
It does? Yeah, that's the consistency theme. It used to be called fairness. I liked that name better. So in your mind, if it helps you to think of it as fairness, that's what it's about. That's what the consistency means. It doesn't mean everything has to be like, oh, I'm structured and all of that. That's a different theme called discipline. I don't know if anybody has that one here. I'll look real quick. No, nobody has discipline theme. But if you see somebody with color-coded everything and pencils and everything's organized and don't mess it up. That's a person with discipline. That's a story for another day. Let them be organized. We're talking about consistency now, which means everybody should be treated fairly. Oh, Dolores, do you have that one pretty high?
No, I just said that would be me. And I said, I was joking and told her, don't touch my stuff and pack you.
Exactly. No, exactly. That's how it is. So you might have, let's see, I don't know if I saw it in your top 5. It's not in your top 5, but it could be like in your top 10, structure, discipline. But consistency is a little different. Consistency is more about among people. And are we treated fairly? And does everybody have equal access? Nobody should have like unfair advantages. And so, yeah, we could see this. I'm sorry, I'm showing a lot of different things. I'm trying to show, yeah, here we go. Because something else that's interesting. So we got the achiever here. So this is Jacqueline getting things done. She has that drive too. But we got the connectedness again. We have Tanya's number 1. Here we see it in the 5 spot. What I want to show you is something. There used to be one theme called spirituality. And Gallup split it into 2, and those 2 are belief and connectedness. And they're different sides of spirituality. I'm going to say it this way. Belief has more of a black and white approach to spirituality. You're either doing, there's no, there's no fooling. All right. But connectedness is more of like a shades of gray, it's like, yeah, but we got to understand the bigger picture. And so it's more like that. So we have more of a tree that might bend and more of an anchor that won't move, or a tree that will bend, and an anchor that won't move. All right. So it's unusual to see both in one person's top 5. But it's cool, and I wanted to seize that opportunity, and it kind of gives you a fuller picture of Jacqueline's inner world. It's one that's based on a pretty strict code of doing right by the people close to you. Do no harm. That's a lot about the connectedness theme, and be fair. So I wonder what role you play in your different communities, Jacqueline. I mean, are you sort of the referee?
Yes.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. This tool is like a really helpful thing. All right, so we're back from break. I was going to try to use it as a reset. I want to tell you, I have a theme called ideation, and that's why I jump around all over the place. That's what you're seeing. I want to get all these ideas in here, and it's like I'm just serving up all of them and hoping, what I'm trying to do is individualize, because that's my number 2. So as we talk about one of you, I'm bringing up a lot of the content that I'm meant to be bringing up later. So let's just jump back to my first slide. I'd love to just have you say, we know your top 5s now. We went around the room. So what's your department role manager's name and favorite movie? And Kimberly, would you start? Oh, I'm so sorry. My bad. You can point in a direction for who to start. Okay, cool.
I'm a registered nurse at pre-op. My manager is Jamie,
Okay.
and my favorite movie is probably Tombstone.
Tombstone. I'm your Huckleberry. What, Johnny Ringo? It looks like somebody stepped all over your grave. My fight ain't with you, Holiday. Oh, I beg to differ. Play for blood, remember? Well, I was just kidding. I wouldn't. I only saw that movie about like 50 times. All right. Cool. Which direction would you like to go? Let's just go around the room.
I'm Dolores. I'm a registered nurse in PACU. My supervisor is Jamie as well. And my favorite movies, I'm gonna say 2, are I Still Believe and I Can Only Imagine.
Okay. I haven't seen either of those, so I'm going to write those down. I Still Believe and I Can Imagine.
Yes, They're based on two Christian music artists, their life story.
Okay.
How they came. They're actually now famous artists, Christian contemporary Mercy Me and Jeremy Camp.
Okay. All right.
Just those would probably have to be.
Nice. Cool. Thank you. All right. Next.
I'm Jackie, or she's saying that.
Jackie?
Or Jacqueline, whichever one.
No, I wanna call, no, Jackie. Okay. Thank you. Good. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. I'll stop talking.
The manager's Jamie, and I really don't have a favorite movie.
Okay. Perfect. And yeah, we'll go to Miriam next, and we'll go down that way.
So Miriam, I'm an occupational therapist. My manager is Melissa. I guess I'm the same way. I feel like I can't think of something that's like my favorites, but I love like grown-ups, the grown-ups movie, kind of like funny, realistic movies. I also like romantic movies. So, you know, it's a big spectrum of type of movies I like.
Yes, movies that show that love will endure and love will conquer all, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, and I don't know, do you get asked, how do you define occupational therapy?
Well, occupational therapy, it's everybody, occupation is everything that we do in life. So when that's disrupted, then we come in. So it can be anything. Like right now, I work full time in the school setting. So a lot of these kids have delays in fine motor skills, which is impacting their occupation as a student. So then I come in and work on those delays, or, you know, whatever they may be needing. If they need an accommodation, you know. So it's just, there's so many settings that we can work in. So it really depends on what setting you're on and kind of how you can define it too.
That's why I wanted to ask the question, because I didn't know what it was, and it's vague, but it's basically I solve problems I help create a greater fit between an individual and their environment.
Right.
Would you say that's true?
That's correct.
And that is a core belief of mine too. In fact, that's what I strive for in all of my work. It's meant to help us achieve something I call IEF. It's an acronym for individual environment fit. And StrengthsFinder helps with that. Does that make sense? StrengthsFinder helps us fit better with our environment. Do you see why I would say that? What do you think? Why? Why would something like StrengthsFinder help you fit better with your environment?
To work off your own strengths, when you figure them out or learn. I mean, I guess you know them, but adapting.
You're adapting.
It
Yeah.
helps you, whether you have to dial up or dial down certain times.
Love it. Yep. And to see why other people are rubbing you the wrong way. They're just great. You will see why other people rub you the wrong way as well. There will be a reason why. Either they're violating some of your, top themes and your priorities, because that's another way to think of your themes, is they're like your top priorities. Of all 34, your top 5 are your top 5 priorities is a fair way to say that. And their top 5 priorities may collide with yours. Somebody with activator. Nobody in the room here is activator, but I know you're going to run into one. Her name's April. And she wants to get things done. Let's get going. I don't want to sit and talk about it in a room all day. Get me out of this meeting. Activate. I have activator number 7. And so I don't want to talk. I want to get things done. I want to get things moving. No, that's actually not true. Achievers want to get things done. Activators want to get things started. Achievers like to get things done, completed. So does responsibility too, and other themes, but activators like to get things started. So you're going to run into other themes with other priorities. You're going to run into somebody, you're like, why don't they dial it down? They have woo. They have a theme called woo, winning others over, WOO. It's the only one of the 34 that's an acronym, WOO, woo, and it stands for winning others over. And you'll meet them because they're always bubbly and they always, have something nice to say, which is great. Because they're very likable. That's woo. So you're going to encounter other themes that'll either align with you or clash with you, and that's what's going on. And so learning other people's themes, like if 3 of you report to Jamie, I'd be like, hey, what are Jamie's top 5? And you might say, hey, Adam, can you just magically make her top 5 appear on the screen? And I'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah, she is learner number 1. She loves information. She loves learning things. She loves knowledge. That's a great conversation. That's a great way to approach her. She's an arranger. She also has an inner sense of what the right arrangement should be. So you might want to try to find out what it is. She has individualization. That's my number 2. She's going to want to get to know you. She's going to want to find out what makes you unique. She's going to probably want to know what your top 5 themes are. Jamie has achiever. She likes to get things done. And she has responsibility. So she also feels guilty. So do you see you're starting to get to know Jamie, or you might already be working with her. You might already know her. Does that describe her, or does that help you get a little sense of her? What's that?
It describes Jamie.
It does. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I love this stuff. All right. So going back to the agenda, which is really important, y'all. We have to stay with the agenda. All right, we need to make sure we got to finish rounding out our introductions. That's what we're in the middle of. Stop interrupting us, people. Who's next?
Physician marketing and PT marketing.
So you work with Kara?
I do, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, she has woo as one. I think it might be your number 1.
Yeah. Oh, woo's her number 1. I thought woo would have been in my top 5, but it's not. That's why I was curious to see. I need to go and purchase that and see where it's at.
Yeah, and you do have positivity as well, which also kind of radiates similarly. But yeah, if we pull up Kara's top 5, so her number 1 is includer, which is my number 34. Literally, this is my 34, and this is her number 1. She wants to make people feel included and welcome, and somebody else in the room has includer, I think, too. Yeah, Miriam, I left out your includer. How ironic. But not really, because it's my number 34. So yeah, I'm on brand. But yeah, so Kara has includer and woo. Yeah, you see, winning others over and communication. I think Dolores had communication. Yeah, and communication is that theme where I call it message sent equals message received. That's kind of the idea here. I want to make sure that what I'm saying to you, you're picking up the way I meant it. And I want to make sure the way you communicate to me, I'm picking up the way you meant it. Communication, achiever, and responsibility. There you go. The achiever responsibility combo, just like with Jamie. Like literally, I just switched over to Jamie's responsibility and achiever and over. Oh, I just canceled it. Anyway. So that's Kara's. All right. Favorite movie, did you say?
Yeah, I mean, I have many favorites, but the few, I know you said 1, but like Goonies, Goodfellas, and then I also have this like soft side, like rom-com. So Notting Hill, I like that storyline of it's funny. Yeah, with Julia Roberts. Yeah, but I'm very much Like, I like it all. Like,
Yeah. I like the
Goonies-
contrast of Goonies and Goodfellas. Like, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, no, I'm also I'm half Italian, so it's like anything like that. Not that I have any gangsters, but it's always very interesting. So it's just I don't know. I like the whole. I don't know. Yeah, but the contrast of it.
How many times have you watched through The Sopranos?
Oh, many times. I love that show. It's extremely realistic in a sense of I liked how you could really get into character and everybody. That's what they really did well with Sopranos, was getting
Yep.
into that character for it being a series. Generally you don't see that within a series where that's in depth as they do.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting stuff. All right. Forum, tell us about you. We know your top 5.
I'm an occupational therapist myself, but I specialize in hand therapy.
And what you specialize in?
Hand therapy.
Pain therapy. Okay.
Hand.
Hand therapy.
Oh, hand
Hand.
therapy. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a little, okay, good. There's the communication theme. Go ahead.
My manager is Melissa.
Okay.
And, my favorite movie, I like all the Disney movies, and favorite one would be Mighty Ducks.
The Mighty Ducks.
I love all the series.
All right. Yeah. Do you like the underdog stories?
Yes, I also like the show as well. Every Wednesday I watch it.
Every Wednesday. All right. I didn't know it was a show. Very cool.
It's a show.
All right. All right. And then who we got next? Tanya?
Yeah, I'm in registration and Chelsea's my manager. My
All right.
favorite is The Guardian.
The Guardian?
Yeah, Ashton Kutcher and anyway, he's a rescue swimmer.
Okay. Cool. I'll check it out. You guys have mentioned all these different movies I haven't seen. That's great. All right. Nice. Okay. And yeah, I love the registration team. So I've worked with them a lot, and Chelsea a lot. So very cool. Very cool. And they talk about StrengthsFinder a lot up there. So cool. All right. Yeah, let's just keep going. I want to work through some of the content more. I want to get you, I covered more than we may realize. All right. So this is a snapshot of your group. It's fine. It's just, it's all the numbers will change with whatever group. So you'll want to maybe look at your department's top 5s. POM, I talked to you about this. I structure everything this way. So every meeting should have a purpose. And the P is why are we here? Purpose is why are we here? So that's where I begin. Everything begins with the why. We don't realize it all the time, but why are you wearing the clothes you're wearing? There's a reason. Why are you working at HPH? Why do you live in that area? There's a reason why. Why do you have whatever beverage holder you have? There's a reason why. Why does this exist? There's a reason why. We don't think about it. It lives in the background. We don't often go, well, why? You could put your hand on anything like that computer in front of you or the little placard with your name. Everything around you, if you just focus on it for one moment, you go, yeah, it has a purpose. Yeah, that has a purpose. We don't do that because purpose lives in the background, but I think we need to pull it into the foreground when there's things like a meeting or when we're using a lot of resources. If we're a hospital, think of all the resources. Think of just how expensive for HPH this meeting is. They're spending how much money for us, our salaries and so forth, for us to be in this room, to talk about this stuff. It's an investment. Why? What's the purpose? We always should know why. The purpose for Talent to Strength, for what we're doing here, is the belief that You know, HPH wants to be a great place to work and be a place where employees want to work. And what will help that create that is to know what employees want. And the Strengths Finder helps describe that and helps create that IEF. It helps create that occupational therapy. You know, it can help with that. It won't guarantee it, of course. We have to use the tools, and that's why everybody who works at HPH will go through this content. It's an investment. There's a purpose why everybody's learning it. The purpose is for us to get along better, in addition to not just developing ourselves, but getting along better and communicating better. That's the why. So then we go next, well, if that's our purpose, then what outcomes, what results, what fruits, what tangible things will we see as a result of it? So purpose is like on one side of the bridge. Am I showing you this image? Are you seeing it? And then outcomes is on the other. Let me try again. Let me make sure I'm sharing the screen right. Okay, there. Purpose is one side of the bridge, and outcomes is that future we're trying to get to. So like Daniel with this futuristic is always on this side of the bridge mentally. A ranger gets in here and starts to think about how. Achiever gets in here and starts to think about methods. All of us can do methods. All the teams can do methods. But what I'm trying to show you is that when you're on a team, your department, it has a purpose, and your department has desired outcomes, and your department has methods for how we'll get there. And the degree to which you all align in your department will determine how effective you are. In your family, in your household, you have a purpose, you have outcomes you want to attain, and you have methods for how you get there. Methods are how you spend your resources to get the outcomes you want. Anytime you spend time, money, mental energy, reputation, equipment, anytime you use resources, that's a method. And we just need to know, is that method going to get us to our outcomes or not? And those outcomes, as long as they're aligned with our purpose, will be the right outcomes. And then I want to tell you something about thriving in your personal life, in work, in the life of your loved ones, and anything you care about. Thriving is a positive relationship between purpose and outcomes. If your outcomes are forwarding your purpose, that's alignment. That's thriving. And if your outcomes are in the opposite direction of your purpose, then you're suffering. Does that make sense? That's the alignment meter. What I just showed you is basically purpose. Purpose is over here. Let's see if I can get my little thing working. All right. Purpose is here. And if your outcomes are in the right direction that reflect your purpose, then you thrive. But if your outcomes are over here, then you suffer. And you've probably seen it in your life. You've probably been in a state of suffering, and you didn't, and then maybe later you find yourself in a more positive state, maybe a state of traction or in a state of thriving. But you didn't just jump there. You probably had to go from like here to here. And then from here to here, right? Isn't that how it works? To go in this direction? This is an important model, and I want to see your reactions to that alignment meter.
On page 10.
Are you guys needing it? Yeah. What do you guys need? Well,
Page 10 was that alignment we were just talking about.
yeah, I can't hear. So like, yeah, tell me where you get.
It was on.
I was asking if anybody knows what, does anybody want to mention him?
Are you guys good?
Yes.
All right. I'm sorry. I feel disconnected. All right. So, but you all have an alignment meter inside of you. You've always had it. You've always known when something aligns with you and contrasts with you. You know, if I were to pick something neutral like coffee, where does it hit you on your alignment meter, Tanya? How do you 0 to 100? Where does coffee fit on your alignment meter?
Only about 21, because I only drink it when I'm at work.
Right? Anybody love coffee? Like I need it, yeah, right. And then I've never had it in my life actually. I had coffee flavored ice cream when I was a kid. I snuck some coffee flavored ice cream, my mom's ice cream, and it tasted disgusting to me. I didn't like it at all. It wasn't vanilla or chocolate. It was I had this yeah. So I just never bothered with coffee because of that. But that's not the point of this. The point is the alignment meter. Everything you experience will fit somewhere on your alignment meter. And it's important to know that because when you experience alignment, you're a different person than when you experience what I call contrast. See, when you experience thriving, you're having a positive emotion, right? Your emotions are positive. Joy, happiness, serenity. I don't know. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on positive emotions because when I get to negative emotions, I'll be able to crank them out. When you're experiencing contrast, you might feel annoyance might be over here, rage might be over here, or despair might be over here. You know, anger might be somewhere in the middle. Frustration is a little before anger. You know, annoyance or boredom might be somewhere over here. Boredom is kind of like on this edge of 50. You know, interest is maybe over here. Joy gets way up over here. So our emotions are like nobody explains to us, but our emotions are how we gauge whether something is good for us or bad for us. It's our immediate knee-jerk reaction for if something aligns with me or contrasts with me. Aligns with what? My goals, my values, my strengths, or contrasts with my goals. How do you feel about someone who blocks you from getting to where you want to go? If you want to get along with somebody, help them meet their goals. If you want to not get along with somebody, stand in the way of their goals or their values. StrengthsFinder plays a role in this because your StrengthsFinder is an alignment meter. When you were answering 177 questions, they were asking you, is this like more like me, not like me? Very, you know, it was a scale, and you were picking your top 5 were the responses that led, were the ones that you aligned with the most, that you rated the highest, most like me. Those statements that were most like you were clues to what your top 5 would be. And so that's how you got your top 5. Your top 5 is your alignment meter. What aligns with you is at the nexus of your top 5, at the center of your top 5. Does that make sense? So if I pull up any one of your top 5s, let's see. If I pull up Tanya's top 5, let me see if I can make this a little smaller. It's not letting me. Anyway, oh, I know I didn't do it wrong. All right, yeah, there we go. All right. What's at her center is where she's thriving. Something that honors her connectedness, that helps her achieve goals, that helps other people grow and reach their potential, that allows us to live in congruence and harmony, and that where people will flex and just adapt to what's going on around them. That kind of situation is really great for Tanya. Is that true, Tanya?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you get into the team, how long have you been working in registration?
Well, for ACA, ACA.
How long?
Oh, in general, like 20-something years, 20 years.
How long have you been here at HPH in the registration? You got to say it louder. I'm sorry.
1 month.
1 month. Okay, great. Sorry. So in that time, you've probably discovered there's other people who aren't very adaptable. right? Yeah. And if you looked at their themes, you'll see why, it'll be right there, and so it'll help explain where those tensions might come from. And so if your themes get violated, you're going to be unhappy there. If their themes get violated, they'll be unhappy there. So if we could find a way for everybody to respect the themes and find that right distance from each other, we'll thrive. There's a philosopher named Schopenhauer, one of my favorites, and he describes the dilemma of porcupines who on a cold winter's day huddled together because they were cold, but they started to stab each other with their quills, and that hurt, so they moved farther apart. But then they got cold, so they moved closer together. And then what they had to do was find the optimal distance where they received the maximum of each other's warmth, their positive qualities, but minimized the stabbing of each other's quills. Right? And that's what a good family does. That's what a good team does. They find that right distance. Isn't that interesting? And so StrengthsFinder plays a role in that. All right. This is cool stuff. Cool stuff. Any thoughts or questions so far about anything? All right. So what I want to show you, the goal of what we're trying to do through our session is we want the outcomes. And so this is the why. This is one. We always start with why, one. Then on the other side of the bridge is outcomes. So we do that second. That's the what, or to what ends, to what results. And in order to get to the outcomes, we need to apply our resources. So strategies and tactics and actions are how we go ahead and produce our outcomes. How we spend our resources for how we'll produce our outcomes. All right. And so what we're trying to do here in this course is help you get to learning the content and experience the benefits of applying this in your personal lives and your professional lives. And that when you're on your teams, you're getting the maximum warmth and sparing each other the quills. That's another way of saying that. Does that make sense? Yeah. I mean, of course, here's why. That's what I should have told you read first. The why is so that we could be the place where physicians want to practice and patients want to receive care and employees want to work. And why? And by harnessing the benefits of StrengthsFinder is one way to create that culture. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to talk about StrengthsFinder as a tool, which we did. Talent to Strength is my approach. StrengthsFinder is the tool developed by Gallup. That's their tool, and the 34 themes and all of that's their intellectual property. Talent to Strength will be things like the COIN model. That's what I've developed. The characters are things that I've developed to help you learn how to use StrengthsFinder. So that's what Talent to Strength is. And what we're taking now is the foundations course of Talent to Strength. There's many levels of Talent to Strength. There's deeper layers we could go, but this is just meant as like an introduction, a foundation, just meant to give us the basis so we could talk about the deeper issues later. And then there's activities along the way. HPH loves to keep these in front of us, our StrengthsFinder themes. So hopefully your manager uses them. Hopefully, if not, some of the activities we do as an organization will reflect them. So wow, I pretty much made a mess of this slide. Any thoughts or reactions to anything on here? That's kind of the game plan. In fact, purpose, outcomes, methods is how I describe any strategic plan or any game plan. Every plan should have the purpose, why, and you start there, and then the outcomes, which is the what or to what ends, and then the methods, which is what you should do last, but most people start with methods first. You'll see that as you learn about it. But I want to move on. I want to get into StrengthsFinder stuff more. So you'll have your reports and read through them. And this report here, called the Signature Themes Report, you should have you will have that, your signature themes report. And I want to pull, maybe I'll pull Kara's up since I have it handy here. So I'll share what it looks like and why it's important. This report, I started talking about it. The reason it's important is because it uses Gallup's standard definitions. This paragraph here is what Gallup has in their book, their StrengthsFinder book. It's their core, like, basic like baseline for every theme are these descriptions. This is the gospel, so to speak, or the canon. And when you read, for example, the includer theme, you could start to see that each sentence is almost a bullet point that describes the theme more. Stretch the circle wider. This is a philosophy around which you orient your life. Yes, make room. Second bullet point, you want to include people and make them feel part of the group. Yes, that's another aspect of includer, making people feel part of a group. In direct contrast to those who are drawn only to exclusive groups, you avoid those groups that exclude others. There's another bullet point. Another bullet point here, you want to expand the group so that as many people as possible can benefit from its support. That's important for the includer. That gets buried. There's a real logic in here that if everybody paid attention, they'd be wiser for it. Now, remember, I'm talking about my number 34 theme. This is, of the 34 priorities, this is my last priority. I'm not proud of that. I got to be mindful of it. It's a blind spot for me, but for Kara and marketing, it's her number one thing, you know? She's looking forward to where could I include people. It's forum's number 3. She doesn't want to exclude, she wants to include. It's Miriam's number 5. They want to include. So do you see how reading this is rich? Miriam and forum, does reading through line by line like add to the richness of understanding the includer theme? And so each of you should have that report for your own themes. And that's how I want you to read it. And whenever you want to learn the themes, go to this report first to read it. The 5 bullet points and the pictures, those are good too. You can see how together those 2 reports really are nice. And if you want to learn all 34, that's how I learned all 34. This is the book version. You can see I have a lot of underlining in there, and it's like, look at the spine, needs occupational therapy. It's falling apart. But you have a digital version of this on your phone. You could get the StrengthsFinder app, and it's free. And then you can plug in your credentials, your email and passcode for how you took the StrengthsFinder, where you created the account. And then it will always have your results up there on your app. I'm pointing to this. I should be pointing to this. On your phone, you'll have it. I forgot where mine is. I haven't opened it in a while. Get the StrengthsFinder. Yeah, here it is. The StrengthsFinder app. And it will have all the information about, lots of information about all 34 of the themes. Everything that's in this book and more is in the app. So that's the little tip for later. So read those reports. That's really important. And a good tip. All right. So these are the 34 themes, and I showed you the 4 domains. The purple ones are about executing, and that's about making things happen. The yellow is about influencing, and it's about taking charge and making sure people are heard and influencing other people, persuading. Relationship building is about helping people become much greater than the sum of its parts. And the strategic thinking themes are about absorbing and analyzing information and helping the team be better. But I don't like it. I only like it to help you learn all 34 themes. I want to tell you all something very important. Any one of your executing themes can be used to influence other people. Any one of your executing themes can be used to build relationships. And any one of your executing themes can help you absorb, analyze, and process information. Any theme can be used in any one of these 4 domains. So it's my criticism. It's something Gallup teaches, but I'm critical of it. So any thoughts or reactions to any of that? Because I've had people be very upset if they had all blue, all 5 were blue. And then they'd be like, oh, well, you only can build relationships, you can't execute. And that's not true at all, at all. And so I don't like that. My individualizer doesn't like that. But to group the themes into those 4 categories by colors, that's reasonable. And to kind of learn them and learn, okay, these are generally about relationships and the blue ones, and these are generally about executing. But I really think the real power of StrengthsFinder is to learn all 34 themes individually. But that's not easy, and that takes time. It took me a lot of time. And of course, I made it a part of my career, my work, so I was motivated to do it. And I don't expect everybody to have that. So at least learning your top 5 is important. And as you get to know, like, I'm trying to motivate you to want to learn more about it, to be honest. That's kind of one of my, sneaky agenda items is I want to get people excited about StrengthsFinder where they really learn it as a language. See, I view this as an alphabet of 34 qualities that people can exude. And you can make a lot of words and a lot of sentences from 34 letters. What do we have, 32 in the English alphabet, right? All right. So I want to see if you guys need a minute or a break, because what I want to get into is how do you apply this stuff? That's what I want to get into next. So let me just preface this. Let me show you what this is from Gallup. And this is, they call it their strength formula. And what they're saying is that a strength, which they define as an activity you do so well that you do it consistent and near perfectly. So think of an activity you do well. I used earlier swimming, but it could be something innocuous. Like I have a friend who can consistently and near perfectly pick up on other people's patterns. I call her the pattern whisperer, because she's like, oh, that person will always do this. Watch. And it's like they do it. That person can do it all the time. And so it's a strength, but they didn't know it was a strength until I pointed it out. And this is very important. The creator of StrengthsFinder, his name's Donald Clifton, Dr. Donald Clifton. He passed away in 2003. He's the creator of the StrengthsFinder. This is called Clifton Strengths. That's what Gallup calls all this. They call it Clifton Strengths. So Don Clifton, he said something very important, and it might explain why this is called StrengthsFinder, even though the results aren't technically your strengths. He said, your strengths, everybody's strengths, hide in plain sight. They're right there. You don't even see them. You don't even see your own strengths. And so you need to find them, because if you do, if you can learn to see them, you can organize your life around them more. And the more you organize your life around your strengths, the better the results you'll see around you in your relationships and in your work and in your overall inner experience of positive emotions and happiness, or IEF, individual environment fit. That was his theory. That's the whole theory of StrengthsFinder. Your strengths are vital. We need you to see what they are so you can harness them, but they're hiding in plain sight because you've been doing them all your life and you don't think they're a big deal. Other people will say, oh, you're so good at this. And you're going to go, oh, yeah, well, you're just being nice. Because what they're saying is so obvious to you and so easy for you that why would they compliment you on it? It's nothing. But it's precisely because it's nothing that it's a strength. Does this make sense? What do you think is that? What are your reactions to that? Your strengths hide in plain sight. You need to be able to spot them. When you do, you can organize your life around them better. And so Don Clifton's thought was, if I can help people identify their dominant talents, that's going to be a good locator for where their strengths are. Where their top 5 themes meet is usually the activities that are their strengths. So that's why I draw the diagram this way. I forget to tell people this, but the reason when this is Gallup's report, I just reformatted it into my format, but these words are theirs. But this report, the reason I do the report like this is because at the center is like how you can find your strengths, where all 5 of your themes come together. That might be where your strength lives. That might help you find and identify your strengths. That's why this is called Strengths Finder. Not because these are your strengths, but because these are the tools that will help you find your strengths. And I've never said it that clearly before, so I want to see, does that make sense? Does that tie this together?
Yes.
These talents, these top 5, are your patterns for how you think, feel, and behave. Look at your top 5 and go, yeah, the combination of these is pretty much what it's like inside my head day to day. Is that true? Moment to moment.
Yes.
Yeah. And so feel seen, at least by StrengthsFinder. Feel that you have some language to help describe why you care about the things you care about, why you think about the things you think. What feels good to you is when your top 5 themes are satisfied. That's when you're having a great time. Is that not true? And when you're hating life, when you're miserable, it's because your top 5 things are being squelched, disrespected, trampled over. True?
Yes.
And the same, it's true for all of us. The problem is just the themes are all different within us. And that's what causes us to not sometimes get along. All right. So why don't any reactions to any of that, and then we'll take a break. I'd like to hear from 2 or 3 people at least about anything we've covered so far, actually, how this is clicking for you.
I think this brings out more awareness on my personality, and not all the time do my responsibility theme is pretty strong, and there's some areas I'm sure sometimes that I can kind of come down a little bit and not stress on it too much, which is something that I've worked on for a long time, I feel, but now it kind of makes sense just having it said to you, oh, this is your personality, your biggest theme, and it just makes sense because I feel like it's a big part of my life. So just being aware of it, and knowing that sometimes it's good to change a little bit.
I love it. It's beautiful. I think it's so true. Your themes are like ore, rock with valuable minerals in there, but you can't really get the valuable mineral. It's all mixed in there. And so you might, in your personal lives, any of you, me, I've hated myself for some of these qualities that are at the top of my list. My ideation theme embarrasses me all the time. Sometimes I come up with these great ideas, but a lot of the times there's bad ideas in between. Was there any sound going off that you need to pay attention to? I heard some beeping.
Yeah.
Was it a code or anything?
No, the static happened and you went silent for like a second.
Gotcha. All right, good. Any other reactions? I love that. Thanks. Any others before we go to break? I'd love to hear a little bit more. Yeah.
It's my 5, and I was going to bring this up with I was curious. It's because we're working with it in the hospital, right? So we're working with physicians, and I was curious if a lot of them have similar themes, right? Because I look at my career, and I've been in marketing and sales, and I look at all 5 of mine, and I could see when I had employees at one time, but I always wonder, like, when you follow this, whatever path that we follow within our career, I see my 5 as what my career is, what makes my career, what makes me do well in my career. And I was just curious, like with physicians, because they're definitely interesting,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and
It's kind of like yesterday, the CEO went through hers, and I'm like, that like is CEO personality. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why she's the CEO because of her 5. Like you can tell, right? Like
yeah, no,
it
no,
just
you're
kind of
right.
defines like I don't know. Like I feel like minds define most of what therapists have, like
Yeah.
the empathy, you know. I feel like most
Funny
of
thing
it-
is, I wanted to be a therapist
Oh, yeah?
at one point in time.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I love it. I love that. You want to be a therapist. That's pretty cool. You should be. You should pursue that. Because so let's talk about this. No, I mean, if that's of interest, like we like finding where we can apply these, your themes would fit very well in therapy, being a therapist, for example. But this is what I want to say. Think of the themes, the 34 themes over here on this column. And then in this column, think of specific activities. Let's take a couple. Swimming, therapy, being like conducting a therapy session, being a surgeon, and running a board meeting as CEO. I'll just call it running a board meeting. So these are 4 different activities, right? Now let's take this list of 34 themes and say we're going to pick 5 and apply it to each of these activities. Any random 5 will apply to each of these activities. That's what we're doing. You're taking your 5 themes and your job is to apply them to the activities you need to perform. So what I'm saying is any set of 5 themes can do surgery. Any set of 5 themes could swim. Any set of 5 themes could run an executive board meeting. So the themes are one ingredient. That ingredient is called thoughts, feelings, behaviors. Thoughts, feelings, behaviors. It's basically neural patterns. That's what these themes are. These are patterns that your neurons have created over time that have been surrounded in a tissue called myelin. This is physiological. When you use a neural pathway, like to perform an action, like to drive a car, the first time you drive a car, you're going to be very nervous and not know what to do. You don't know how to think, feel, or behave. But now, many of you probably drove to work and didn't even think about it. You've myelinated all of the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors necessary to drive the car. Meaning you've used them frequently enough that your body produced a tissue that would wrap around that neural network so that it's insulated and it's more structured and it's faster, more conductive. So the neurons fire faster, and that's why you get better and better. That's why the first time you made your eggs, you had a blah, 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 made a mess, and now you do it without thinking and da-da-da. Or whatever the activity is through repetition, you have myelinated those neurons. And these top 5 themes are basically clusters of neurons for how you think, feel, and behave. That's what these are, and that's one ingredient to perform an activity well. Gallup says there's 2 other ingredients to perform an activity well. Gallup says that in order to have strength level performance of an activity, you need to apply your patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, but you also need 2 other things, knowledge and skill. And StrengthsFinder only is about identifying your talent. Now, your job is to apply it toward activities, and StrengthsFinder can't tell you how to do that. What are the activities we're talking about? It depends. So think about this. On your job, in your current role, what's an activity that is very important for you to perform? One of your main activities, one of your most important activities. Doesn't matter what it is, each one of you will have a different answer. Writing a report, or I don't know, doing a procedure, or whatever it is. So my challenge to you would be apply your 5 themes toward that activity to help you perform it better. Does that make sense? That's how we use it. You have to think of an activity first, and nobody does that. Gallup doesn't even tell you to do that, but I am. That's part of what I figured out. If you first think about the activity we're talking about, then you can look at how to apply your 5 themes positively toward that activity. and to avoid having your themes be used negatively toward that activity. Does that make sense? I use my themes the wrong way all the time, unthinkingly. And then if I think about it, I'm like, oh, I need to stop ideating. I'll give you an example. Learners, there's a point where you need to stop learning. There's a point of diminishing returns when you've clicked on enough wiki trails. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You read the hypertext. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know about that. Oh, that's interesting. And now you're 10 clicks away from your original intention. That could happen to a learner. You know, responsibility. You might not delegate because you don't know if you delegate if it's going to be, you know, met. Or if you do delegate, you might stress out the whole time. You might burn out your emotions or your motor. So you have to learn how to apply your themes in the right way to the activities. That's the point of the whole course. It's so hard to get to that point. I could not start the course in that way and say, hey guys, welcome to Talent to Strength. Those are your 5 themes. Apply them to your activities in the right way and have a good day. But that's what I am saying.
When you say apply, you mean like adapt? Are you meaning like adapting to?
I love that question. I love it. What's a main activity you do as an occupational therapist? Something you do pretty routinely?
I evaluate, write reports.
This is great. I love it. So you evaluate. Maybe do you interview a patient?
I interview parents, teachers.
Let's call conducting an interview the activity. Some people are good at it and some people are bad at it. Am I right? There's different levels of performance. It's very important. I'm going to show you this. There are different levels of importance, and this is another key to unlocking it. I'm going to show you another slide that's almost identical to this, but with one difference. Instead of a strength, is it going to let me edit this? Is this editable? Oh. All right. So instead of strength, I want to replace that word and say your level of performance. Your level of performance in an activity is determined by how well you apply your talents toward that activity, how much knowledge you have relevant to that activity, how much useful knowledge you have in relation to the activity, and how well you perform the steps of the activity. And as you do, this might be small. I will make it larger. I think strength is just one level of performance. I think there's a whole bunch of other levels. Let's go down to the bottom. There's some activities you don't even know exist. Or there's activities you do now that there was a time you didn't know existed. A lot of the things you do now in your job, when you were in high school, you didn't really know that those were things to do. Somewhere along the way, you were confronted and you learned it was an activity. And so I present it as a box, and the box, you can see it fills up as you get better. It's an empty box. And you might decide, you know what? I know the activity exists, but I don't want to get any better at it. For me, website building was one of those. Back in the day when I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, those are websites. Oh, I have no interest. I don't want to build websites. I never had the urge to build a website. So I had a fixed mindset. My mindset was fixed. I don't want to get better. I don't care to get better. I'm not going to get better. But some activities, and think about in your life where you learned about an activity and you're like, whoa, I want to get good at that. I'm willing to be a beginner. I'm willing to look awkward. I'm willing to seek a coach. I'm humbling myself. I'll read a book. I'll learn stuff. I'm going to jump in the box. I'm still empty. My box is still empty, but I'm willing to jump in. And because you did, you learned the basic moves of that activity. Does that make sense? You didn't have strength level performance at that time. You learned the basics, and you might have stopped there. There's many activities where I just know the basics, and that's plenty. I know the basics of changing a tire. I don't have a strength at it. I guarantee it. I just know the basics, and that's fine with me. Now for, maybe a NASCAR team, I would not be allowed on the pit crew at that level of tire changing ability, right? Fine with me. All right. But maybe I want to get better at the activity, so I get competent is a little higher. And then maybe a little better, I get advanced. And then I have a strength. And even higher than that, maybe I invented the activity or created new moves within the activity. I'm a master at the activity. But you see, when you look at the activities of your life, you perform the different activities at different levels. Does that make sense? And so the level at which you perform is determined by how well you've used your talents, your natural abilities, how well you've developed your knowledge related to the activity, and how well you've mapped out the steps and performed the steps of the activity. Are there not steps to interviewing? But maybe you skip a step. Maybe you forgot the step where you make them feel comfortable and relaxed. And so that will affect the whole rest of your performance in that activity. Right? Knowledge, maybe there's knowledge about, interviewing techniques or knowledge about your field that allows you to ask questions better. Like, if I ask this question, it's a very good indicator they have this situation or challenge. And your knowledge is what allowed you to know that. You didn't know that before. So as you increase your knowledge toward the activity, as you increase your skills toward the activity, and as you take your top 5, and that's what I want to do next. Let's go to Miriam's top 5 and say, how might she use responsibility in interviewing in a good way? Or here, how might her responsibility impede her interviewing abilities? Maybe she feels too responsible and she answers all the questions whenever there's silence. And she feels responsible for, there not to be silence. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know this to be the case. I'm just thinking of, empathy. How could this be used positively for interviews versus negatively? I think there's lots and lots of positives here. Like, belief. How can she keep her beliefs to be useful for interviewing, but not harmful? How can she prevent her belief from getting in the way? Like, don't get judgmental, right? Like you might be in situations where you're judgmental. You might get judgmental and you might need to dial down your belief. So you perform the activity of interviewing well. Developers are great, for interviewing, because your desire is to really get in there and help them. Like this, I can see this being just an overall great asset to your occupational therapy. Is this developer might even be what drew you to the profession, or includer, making sure people that were left out have a way to be brought in. Like, anyway, any reactions to that as I talk about your themes and applying it to interviewing or anything like that?
Yes, when you said responsibility, you were on point. You said when it's quiet or to be the initiator, you feel responsible because no one else, and it becomes awkward.
Yep.
And so a lot of the classes I take on a personal level, on my personal life, when it's quiet, I do feel responsible. And you said it about her. That's one under mine as well, to initiate to get everybody going or started, because a lot of people are, I don't know what the word is, shy or don't want to speak up. So in order to get everyone, and I think that's also falls under another one of mine of being able to speak up and not, I've read it, by just initiating conversation. And I related to that when you said that about feeling responsible.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah. Yes.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So what I'm showing you here is truly what I want to teach everybody. It's just hard to get to this level because there's a lot of obstacles, but it is exactly this diagram here. Whatever activities you perform, think about how you can apply your themes in a positive way and avoid using them in a negative way. And what knowledge would help me perform the activity better? What book, what training, what expertise, what, I don't know, that's enough right there, would help me perform the activity better. Who could I interview to perform the activity better? Who could I observe And then skill. Have I mapped out all the steps of the activity? And which ones am I performing well? Which ones should I practice better? And as you do those three things, you will move up the ladder. You will move up the ladder. That's how you moved up the ladder in any activity. Any strength you have was achieved because you used your talents, you grew your knowledge, and you developed the skills or the steps. And that's the crux of the whole thing. So you use it for yourself, but you also could use it for other people. You have a child who's struggling in school. You go, okay, what's the activity we need to perform better? Okay, we need to perform memorization better. Whatever. I'm just winging this here. All right, what are my young person's talents? What do they do well, naturally? You don't need the strengths finder. You can go, oh, they've learned how to organize their toys better, or they learned how to, I could use their ability to organize. Those are their talent. Their talents are there. You can see other people's talents. What knowledge do I need to help them memorize better? What are some tools to develop memory techniques, to develop a mnemonic? And then what are the steps of memorizing? Okay, let's go over it. Let's practice it, and let's mix up the order and practice it in a mixed up order as an advanced step. And you see, now you're helping other people move up the ladder of performance. And the reason this matters to me is as we perform the right activities better, our lives are better. We have better individual environment fit. So for you occupational therapists, this should be right in line with the philosophy. My philosophy is occupational therapy. I've just never known to call it that, but that truly is my philosophy of life. We are humans. Okay, I'm going to go off here for a second, then I'll give you a break. This is how I view it. You are inside of a body, a biological creation. And in between that real you and your outer world is your body and your personality. And both are adaptations meant to help bridge the real inner you with the world outside of you. I mean, I don't know what you make of that, but when I look at something like StrengthsFinder, it helps me understand the personality that formed around the you that is in the biological creation, and navigating the world around you for the lifespan of it, and so there's two main states we have in this time. I actually have a diagram for it. I'll show you real quick. Here. There's a beginning and there's an ending of everything physical. Everything physical has a beginning and an ending. And so I don't talk about before the beginning or after the ending. Those are topics for another day. But between the beginning and the ending, that's what I'm talking about. Your lifespan, your life. And there's two main states. There's surviving and there's thriving. I'm going to put one here. I'm playing with this idea of regulating, which I think really we need to talk about more. I think a lot of our problems in society right now are because people aren't regulating themselves emotionally and physically, but emotionally especially. But there's two main states, and I want to move toward thriving. And I believe there's a way we can do it, and StrengthsFinder helps with that. That thriving isn't an accident. Thriving is the result of something. It is the result of aligning the key factors that are necessary for thriving. So if I want a thriving garden, then I need to align the factors necessary for a thriving garden. If I want a thriving bank account, then I need to align the factors that are necessary for a thriving bank account. There's many states of thriving, by the way, and there's many states of survival. But if you fall below a certain state of survival, then, that's what we get there. But this, to me, is the big picture of what we're trying to do, is thrive. And I think learning about our StrengthsFinder results, or learning about our personalities, helps us thrive more. All right. We can take a break, 5 minutes, and then we'll come back, and that'll give us about 30 minutes for anything we want to finish to wrap up. I always, like I said, I have more things to show, but any questions, if you have any over break, we can even just spend our time answering those. So I will see you in 5 minutes. I will bring up that timer that I like so much, and we will do that now. Okay, yeah, we're doing our wrap up. I forgot to restart our recording, but yeah, did any of you notice your themes happening while we were in the session today? Very good. Yeah, and you kind of see the thoughts that might go with your themes. Learn to see, oh, that was a learner thought. That was a learner feeling. My learner feels bad because of this. My achiever feels frustrated because of this. My harmony is happy because of this. My responsibility feels great because I got to get this done. So learning to recognize that is really key. And that's as far as I even want you to get. Just connect and observe. That's all. I mean, I think then you'll eventually learn to interrupt your themes. Then you'll be able to spot it and you'll say, oh, is this theme going to work for me now or no? No, this isn't good. This is going to work against me. My harmony is not a very good theme if I'm negotiating a car price. You know what I mean? Because that car dealer on the other end isn't going for harmony, you know? But, you know, you learn to interrupt a theme when it's working against you.
I made it hard.
What's that?
No, sorry, we were.
Okay. Very good.
Comment.
Yeah, but that wraps it up. I mean, that gets you the foundations of what we want to talk about. And I feel like you have a really strong foundation now in what the results of your StrengthsFinder are. You could stop with what your current understanding is, and you'd be like what most people do with StrengthsFinder. Oh, that's interesting. And they file it away. And that's what I did for several years. Or, you know, you can go more deeply into these, not just for yourself and others. That's what happened to me. Then I read everything. I learned everything there was to learn about it. Then Gallup started offering certifications. They didn't offer certifications for many years. I was went through one of the first certification groups and to go through it. And that was like 12 years ago. So, you know, and then I've been working with groups and developing materials and content to go with it. So I'm an extreme case of somebody who really gets into StrengthsFinder. But honestly, just learning a little bit at a time and learning about yourself and learning about the people in your world, work and personal, it's a wonderful tool. I'm a resource if you ever want to know more. And yeah, if people ask for more information or courses on StrengthsFinder, I'm sure we'll be able to arrange that. So yeah, I'll stick around for a few minutes in case anybody has some questions, because I don't want to cut anybody out. But if you want to jet, I also don't want to hold anybody up. So you are free to go. And then I'll stick around for Q&A for, let's say, 10 minutes or so.
I did want to say thank you so much. I really enjoyed it and learned a lot about myself. It's definitely, I mean, I would pass this information along to people that need to work on their, you know, that are wanting to work on their careers and their inner self too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, cool. Good.
I would say that it was a reassurance of some of the things that I read about myself and the activities that I'm able to apply after listening to you. It definitely helped me, you know, understand why I did what I did and what are some of the things I can improve on.
That's so wonderful. It's great. Yeah. And this is the tip of the iceberg, I realize, but I've shown you the right pathway to go, and you have tools like right there in your hands to help. And I'm a resource here. Cheryl is. So get in touch with us if we can ever answer any questions or help your teams or whatever. So have a great rest of your day. And yeah, if anybody wants to stick around, I will answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. We'll see you all then. Yeah, reach out anytime.